You prefer sleeping with white noise, complete silence, or something else?
White noise.
White noise. What do you do for white noise?
We have a machine next to the bed.
Now, is the machine next to your bed and the baby's bed, or just your bed?
Actually, the baby's room has white noise as well.
Hey, welcome back to the Busy People Getting Fit podcast. I'm your host, Bryan White, and today we're talking about something crucial for your health, better sleep. Joining me is Shane Ryder, owner of Kiowa Fitness in Independence, Oregon. After a long career in aviation, Shane discovered CrossFit in 2012, found his passion, and opened Kiowa Fitness in 2015. In this episode, Shane shares how he's improved his sleep, the impact it's had on his performance, and practical tips you can start using tonight. If you're ready to level up your recovery, let's dive in. Welcome, Shane.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks for having me.
I am so glad you're here. When did you realize that sleep was a key part of your health and fitness?
I would say probably back when I was in the Army.
Okay.
It really kind of drove in the fact that, we need to sleep when we can for a myriad of reasons. But you could definitely tell that the nights when you were on maybe fire watch or guard duty, what have you, when sleep was interrupted, the next days were definitely a little more difficult.
Okay. So I did not realize that you were in the military, and now I have all kinds of questions because your job was to stay awake and alert.
Right. Yeah.
When the rest of the world is asleep. So caffeine, what's been your journey with caffeine?
I would say energy drinks then, late 90s, early 2000s weren't really a thing. You saw people just drinking gallons of coffee. And I can remember when Irish cream and that kind of stuff started getting into coffee. You started seeing more about cappuccinos and lattes and that kind of stuff. But mostly everyone just drank coffee with, pouring the creamer in there and sugar at the same time. And hey, do what you can, right? Drink what you can. I wasn't a big coffee drinker in the Army like I am now. I drink, a pot of coffee when I wake up at 4 a.m. But for me, I did realize early on that if I drink it past noon, then I have trouble sleeping. It was just the effects of caffeine would just linger and linger and linger. And, I'd be laying in bed 9, 10 o'clock, just kind of staring at the ceiling, not even overthinking anything or, that overactive thought processes that a lot of people have when they are trying to go to sleep, all the things they need to do the next day. So I never really had that issue, but mine was always rolling back and forth, one side to the other, staring at the ceiling. What is going on? Why can't I sleep? I'm oh yeah, it's from that coffee that I had at, 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay. And how old were you when you were drinking coffee at 4 o'clock in the afternoon?
That wasn't even that long ago, to be honest.
Okay.
I'd say 7 or 8 years ago when maybe it wasn't even just coffee, maybe an energy drink or something of that nature that, it was one of those mornings I got up really early to coach and, I'm coaching again, later in the afternoon, it's 4 o'clock. I'm drowsy, just that mid-afternoon fog, if you will. Man, I need something, pop into the convenience store and give me a Red Bull or whatever. And then, the next morning I'd have to get up to coach again. And, now it's 10, 11 o'clock at night. And I'm that was a terrible decision.
Okay. So you coach the 5 a.m. class now?
Yeah, I coach 5 a.m. on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays.
Okay. And what time do you go to bed the previous night?
I really start trying to wind down around 8, I would say. Daughter, she's 6 months old. We're really trying to get her into bed around that same time, 7:30, 7:45. You know how it is with littles that age. My partner does a great job of doing a lot of the nighttime duties if, she's fussy or something and feeding her. So I don't really have a lot of interrupted sleep now, even having a small infant, but we're really trying to hit the bed, 8, 8:30. 9 o'clock is pushing it for sure because I get up at 4 a.m. So, I want to get about that 7 or 8 hours if I can.
Okay. So you're talking about 7 to 8 hours of that sleep opportunity where you're in bed, lights are out, head's on the pillow, no screens, no light, no nothing.
Yeah. Well, then even recently, we've even tried, we're trying to be better about screens on or even TVs on around our daughter.
Okay.
So we haven't even been turning the TV on at night. It's just pretty much stays off just until she goes to bed. And since we go to bed kind of right behind her, it's well, no reason to turn it on now. We'll just,
sure.
We don't need that extra, blue light, if you will,
to
keep that mind racing, wondering if we're still, if it's still daylight outside or what's going on. And, why when it seems like it's dark out, are we still feeling like it's still light out because of the blue light that we're still getting from our screen? So trying to be better about that, turning it off early and we're not even turning it on if we don't need it.
Perfect. Yeah. So you're staying away from screens as much as you can before bed, or do you stay away from certain foods or drinks?
Yeah, I mean, we touched on the caffeine. I really try to cut it out by noon, but we don't really drink any other like sodas or anything. I'm a big bubble water guy, so
Okay.
I have a soda stream that I drink a lot of water.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I don't really drink much caffeine otherwise, or even like caffeinated, pops or sodas or whatever. So we're mostly just water and milk, and that's about it.
Okay.
Um,
When you have a 6 month old, and you coach a class at 5 in the morning, that lots of people in the world don't do either of those things, or at least not at the same time. Like right now, how would you say your mental acuity or your stress, mental clarity is impacted by sleep?
I would say it's greatly impacted. I can definitely tell if I don't get quality sleep and I'm coaching at 5 a.m. It's one of the reasons why I actually get up at 4, just so I am more awake for our classes, and that I can be up there and present our classes with our workouts and be able to, talk about them intelligently and talk about, stimuluses and intensive workout and how to properly, scale or modify people. Like if I'm dead tired, like I'm not able to get through some of that process that we provide our athletes for every class. So I want to be awake and I want to be, and I want to give them the best class that they possibly can have at 5 a.m. I mean, they're dragging themselves in. Like, I don't want to feel like I just drug myself into class and like half sleep, and I can't talk about the workouts or, talk about how I can help them, in the middle of the workout if I'm dead tired and unable to, put sentences together for them. So it's very important for me to make sure that I get my sleep, to make sure that I'm coming in here at as close to 100% at 5 a.m. as possible. And if that drags on for a couple of days, especially coaching, Thursday and Friday back to back, if I'm, not getting quality sleep, then those classes, unfortunately, would get affected from my lack of concentration and just how I present those workouts to them. And they would get half as good of a class from me, which is not our standard for our classes from our coaches.
Sure. Yeah. And, and I'm a small business owner too. It's not like, people would quickly give us feedback, and if we're dragging into class, right?
Yeah.
Quickly give us feedback on how that's not meeting their expectations.
Right.
Are there any simple recommendations that you give your current clients or prospects or anyone who wants to talk to you about sleep? Any simple, quick little things that they can do to improve their sleep quality?
Yeah. So a few things that we talk about, or if people have approached me about it, I actually put something out on my social media a few months ago, and I had about, hey, if anyone's having trouble sleeping, I put a little ebook together to kind of help with that. But kind of like, goal setting sessions, or even like a no sweat intro where we do some fact finding to figure out like what's going on, what things can we control, and then what things are there that just, unfortunately can't control. Maybe, sick children or sick spouse or partner that you're taking care of. Maybe, they're up or down all night. It's kind of hard to control that situation, but, it's talking about shutting off the screens early enough to where the mind's not continually running, working within your like circadian rhythm where, now the time of year, it is getting a little bit lighter out, but, as it starts to get dark, the body starts understanding like, hey, it's time to go to sleep. It's been, kind of essentially in our DNA for a really long time. Melatonin starts to creep in, and then it gets to a point where melatonin secretion's at its highest at, later in the nights, like, midnight or 1 a.m. from what studies have shown. So, we're talking about like, hey, if the sun is set by like 6:30, like the body wants to start winding down. So you need to start winding down, try to eat your dinner, try to eat your food. I know you mentioned that a minute ago about what kind of foods we try to avoid the sweets as much as you can later in the evening. Eating real whole foods, less processed foods, but you want to try to start those processes as early as you can. If you can have that dinner a little bit earlier, 6:30, by the time 8:30 hits around, the body's going to be more ready to go to sleep. Talk about, temperature in your room. If it's too hot, makes it uncomfortable. If you're too cold, so you want to have right around that, like 67, 68 degrees is probably the most ideal. There's been a lot of studies on white noise, helping people fall asleep to white noise, maybe a fan or something on as well. That kind of helps with that. Trying to stick to a schedule as best you can. Let the body get into that rhythm of going to sleep at the same time does kind of help you fall asleep. Some people say, reading a book, 30 minutes to an hour before going to bed kind of helps them slow the processing of things down in their brain, where they're kind of focusing on something else with the reading. I know probably the biggest thing that most people tell me the difficulty with them falling asleep is that their overactivity of their brain. Like, I'm constantly thinking about like how my day went, like what things I could have done, throughout the day to help, make myself more successful later in the week, or, hey, this is what I have to do next week, or this is what I have to do in 6 months from now. They're just constantly thinking about things. And that's it's a hard one, because for me, I don't do that. So it's hard for me to relate to that, because I'm always like, yeah, my brain just kind of like, and I can fall asleep pretty quickly. Like, I've been lucky enough to where I've been able to fall asleep pretty fast without having to take any, sleep aids or anything like that.
Yeah.
But, they're talking about like box breathing while you're trying to go to sleep as well. Force breathing in, holding it for a few seconds, 4 seconds breathing out, holding that for a few seconds, counting from 0 to 150, kind of having something almost like the counting the sheep thing that it was popular when we were kids, right? Count the thing over the fence, trying to find that thing that kind of lets your mind wander, where you're not necessarily thinking about like future events that haven't happened yet, or things that, you wish you would have done different in third grade.
Sure. So I have difficulty going to sleep because my mind is so active. And one of the things, I have 2 tricks. It's my mind needs to think about something, because just saying don't think about anything isn't an option. One is I think about playing a round of golf. I think about like the last round of golf, or because it's kind of important to me, but not really, right? It's something I can think about, but whether I solve it or not has no actual impact on my livelihood, how much money I do or don't make, my relationships. Like, I can have a bad round of golf, my life is still fine, right?
Yeah.
And the second thing I think about is there's a video game I play. It's called Civilization. I've been playing Civilization for 31 years. No, 32 years. 32 years. And again, I can think about, it's a strategy game. I can think about that strategy. But again, if I lose my latest game of Civilization, my life is still fine, right? There's no real stress involved. But it gives me something to think about. It gives my mind something to do that doesn't cause all the anxiety and the epinephrine and the adrenaline and all the other hormonal imbalances that can happen, right? Because my body's like, dude, you're fine. This is so I have found that if you're one of those people who can't go to sleep because you're thinking too much or worrying too much, find something else that you can think about, that you care about, but has no material impact on your life.
Yeah,
that's been my help. So let's end this conversation with a few rapid fire fun questions. Are you a night owl or an early bird? And I hope
early bird.
Yeah, I hope. Do you prefer sleeping with white noise, complete silence, or something else?
White noise.
White noise. What do you do for white noise?
We have a machine next to the bed.
Yeah. Now, is the machine next to your bed and the baby's bed, or just your bed?
Actually, the baby's room has white noise as well.
Okay. Yeah, we did that. Okay. Last one. If you could only pick one, great sleep, great workout, or great nutrition, which one would you choose?
I think it would be sleep. It's detrimental for me if I don't get good sleep. I can be grumpy, and then when people ask me if I'm grumpy, I'm like, no, I'm not grumpy. I can get hangry too. So nutrition will be a close second to that one.
Yeah, that's my order too.
But definitely some good sleep.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Shane. I appreciate the conversation. I appreciate you joining me.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks for having me.
Have a great day.
You too, man. Take care.
Bye.
That's a wrap on today's episode of Busy People Getting Fit. A huge thanks to Shane Ryder from Kiowa Fitness for sharing his insights on how to get better sleep and why it's such a game changer for both fitness and everyday life. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who could use better sleep too. And if you're ever in Independence, Oregon, check out Kiowa Fitness. You'll find an incredible community and expert coaching. Thanks for listening, and remember, fitness isn't just about what you do in the gym, it's also about how well you recover. Have a great day.